live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube on this Wednesday evening. Come on in, stay a while. We are hanging out for about an hour, probably going to go into OT. We got 3 topics tonight, but it is going to be a good show, no less. Joined as always by my faithful cohorts and my good friends, Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon. It is good to see both of you gentlemen. We've got a lot on the roster today. We are talking Scream 6. We're a little late on it because we had the Oscar coverage last week, which was a fun time. So figured we might as well tackle Scream 6 while we got it. So we will be hitting that with a review in the midsection of the show. That'll be the feature presentation of the show, if you will. Yeah. And then we are also talking about Blockbuster coming up as well. Blockbuster.com is reactivated. There is a tease, what we call in this industry, a tease on the website that is getting the internet a buzz. So we are going to dive into that and talk a little bit about what could the possibilities be for Blockbuster in 2023. I'll be interested to hear you guys' theories and different ideas and concepts related to that too. So we will dive into that coming up as well. It's also worth noting too, I had a friend comment on this relatively recently, about a week ago. They asked me, they're like, you seem to see only review movies in theaters recently as opposed to streaming. And I thought about it and I'm like, there's just a lot of stuff out in theaters more so than on streaming. And I like to, with streaming, it's hard because you kind of have to go with the wind a little bit. Like usually what happens nowadays with movies is on streaming in particular, it's you get a week or two's notice and then they're out. You know what I mean? You get a week's notice and they're dropped. Or there's some build up. It's been a project in the works for a while. But I mean, as of late, there's been a ton of movies in theaters. And I bring this up only because of the fact that, at least in my personal opinion, there's not a ton coming out these next few weeks. It's really 3 blockbusters, and it's 0 for 3 with blockbusters I really want to see. Shazam! Fury of the Gods came out this past weekend. That did very poor numbers in the theater, so I wasn't the only one who didn't want to see it, at least. John Wick 4 comes out this week, and before everybody jumps down my throat, I've not seen a single John Wick movie. I just don't have any interest. I'm not going to sit here and be why these movies are killing cinema or why this is a horrible franchise or why Keanu Reeves sucks. I just have no personal interest in this series, and I do not care to watch them. I think if you like these movies, though, it sounds like John Wick 4 is going to be a really good movie, at least from the buzz that I'm seeing. And then the following week, I would probably rather see the previous 2 movies before seeing Dungeons and Dragons, truthfully. That I've almost forgot that comes out because March is one of those months with 31 days, and it comes out March 31st. So it's 0 and 3 for blockbusters upcoming. The reason I bring all this up though is because next week we're going to do a retro review movie recommendation from Joe. We're going to be reviewing Strange Days, which I'm looking forward to talking about, which also has the late great Tom Sizemore in it. So we will dive into that next week, as well as the following week. I put on the docket Murder Mystery 2, the Adam Sandler film. So we will tackle those. Those are just some upcoming reviews in the future. Now, what I will say, though, and this is not going to help my credibility case, you know what I will see? I legit thought when I saw 65 last week that was going to be my last movie seen in the month of March. And I wasn't going to see anything until Air and Mario Brothers next month. But I looked. You know what's coming out? It's coming out this weekend. I'm busy this weekend, so I'm seeing it next weekend. You know what's coming out? I'm not going to see Shazam 2. Not going to see John Wick 4. And I'm not going to see Dungeons and Dragons. But the very first ever crowd-funded, faith-based movie to get a theatrical release, His Only Son, comes to theaters on Thursday. So I will be seeing that. I will definitely make time for that. I was wondering, though, spoiler alert, is his only son Jesus? Or is Jesus the only son? I would think. I don't know. I can't be for
that
sure.
We know of.
I don't want to be. I don't want to go spoiler territory over here. Literally, for Christ's sake, but still. But yeah, I'll be seeing His Only Son here, and I wasn't gonna subject you guys. I almost thought of playing a joke on you this morning and being like, "You guys want to review this? You guys want to walk a mile in my shoes?" Last thing, I've been reviewing Christian movies since Christ lost his sandals. Anyway, we are talking to
The
start the show at
persecution.
least.
Sorry. Go.
You're good. So that was just my long-winded rant. I guess before we even get into topics over here, I went really long with that opening monologue. Shut me up. Dom, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. It's been a little rainy and a little, we're in a March slump before. I mean, is it spring break next weekend? I don't know. We don't really do that anymore because we're not in school. Maybe you guys do, but I don't really know. But
I could use a spring break. I'm not getting one.
I
but
had
I
a
could
go.
spring
use a
break. It
spring
didn't do
break.
shit. I needed spring weeks.
a spring month. Actually, honestly, like I think I'm just gonna pivot to the weather. But the fact that the winter honestly was kind of nothing. It was nothing until it was something for like a really, really harsh couple of days and then back to nothing. That probably just means we're gonna get shit ton of rain, which is great. So looking
Speak
forward
for
to getting my
yourself. It's
boots
been a
wet.
hard couple of months out here in the tri-state region. I'll tell you that much with the
Okay.
winter. Winter started out fine, but like in the I saw this 8 of the last, and I think you can count this one. So let's say 9 of the last 12. 9 of the last 12 Thursdays out here have had measurable precipitation. That's rain, snow, and or ice. I think this year alone in my area we've gotten in upwards of like 30 inches of snow in the past like 2 months or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
So be fortunate. Be fortunate out by where you're at.
Gotcha.
It could always be worse. But what else is going on though, Dom? Anything?
Um, uh, Honestly, just did I tell you guys awareness moment? I have psoriasis. Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't.
It's a skin condition. It's autoimmune. It sounds worse than it is, but it is annoying. But it's essentially where your my body essentially just gives me like all these blemishes and not blisters, but they're kind of like blisters, and it can get really bad if untreated. And it's a dermatological kind of thing, but also an autoimmune thing. And honestly, it's just annoying because twice a day I have to put on like ointments, and the problem is it's all over my body, like all over my body. So it's like I have to have Chelsea help me get to my back and stuff, and it's just a
married life.
yes, it is very nice, but like the ointment, it's like kind of like a petroleum kind of gel. I mean, not petroleum jelly, but it's kind of one of those consistencies.
I
So
have eczema. Is it like triamcinolone or whatever
you
it's
know what?
called?
At
Something
first, I
like
thought it
that?
was eczema. I thought it was something like eczema. So it's kind of in that ballpark, I think. But yeah.
But yeah,
Anyway,
those
just
ointments are thick.
yeah, and it takes like forever. I would think like, oh, okay, I just put this on. It's like, no, I actually have to really plan this out because it's like, okay, I can't sit, I can't like lean back for a bit because for like a couple hours, I got this stuff that's drying very
Yeah.
slowly. And it's just a massive inconvenience, and it kind of wrecks my wrecks my day twice a day. It's really annoying. So I got to do it in the morning before work and then after, probably as soon as I get home. But I don't know. I'll deal with that. I'll be okay.
I have eczema on my elbows. You guys have seen it.
I've seen the wraps
you've
and the
seen
stuff,
what
yeah.
I do when I wrap my elbows and stuff. Hell, on the last
Mhm.
day, it's the last show of Sleepless on the radio. I look back at those photos and I'm like, yep, Jagoff had an eczema flare up the night before, didn't he?
There you go.
Yeah, so yeah, you've seen me with that. So I'm not foreign to that world. Psoriasis with Steve. Anyway, Joe, how are you?
I'm doing I'm doing good. Unlike Steve, I'm seeing every blockbuster that came out that he just listed. So I've been going to the theater every weekend, which it's been good, honestly. Like, I understand like Steve doesn't have interest in it. It's sad how much hate Shazam 2 has gotten because I thought Sandberg did a great job with the sequel. I thought it's just as fun as the original one was. And it really sucks to see like him and like almost all the cast and even crew members come out and be like, hey, like, we get like people might be tired of superhero movies, but this is a bit much of criticism now. Like, It's been really shocking to see like actual like out of all the fucking superhero movies, Shazam 2 is the one where the director, the actors, the crew came out and goes, "All right, enough is enough." Like we put our heart and soul into this shit, damn it. um, I'm seeing John Wick this week, and then I'm a nerd, so of course I'm going to see Dungeons and Dragons. Like what would I be doing on a Friday night? Probably going to a bar or something. No, but I'm excited for all three blockbusters and everything. This is just like honestly, it's been a great season of movies. Everything so far in March has been pretty good. I know we're about to talk about one of the movies tonight, and I probably just gave it away how I felt about it, but just wait till the review. Hold on, I got some stuff to say. So I've been enjoying everything I've been going to see. I just started my new class at school, so not looking forward to that. That's probably my least forward to thing I'm looking for dealing with right now. I still haven't seen Inside. I cannot find a good enough showtime to go see it.
Be glad you have it in your area, because I don't.
Literally, it's
Sucks.
like 4 showtimes: morning, 2 afternoons, and late as fuck night. It's like, can we get like a good evening showtime, please?
Yeah, I wish I could see Inside. I checked all the theaters around here. It's nowhere near here. And even back home, it's at the one theater I don't normally go to much either. Like that was the only place I could find it. So it's in very limited release.
Yeah.
I would like to see that though coming up. I'm probably gonna have to, suffer with streaming with that one, but it's all good.
Same.
At any rate, we had a sad passing last week. It was last Friday, I believe. Lance Reddick passed away. Lance Reddick, obviously very popular actor for really 2 huge roles. It was Cedric Daniels in The Wire was a big role of his. Wire is a great show. Really good program. HBO ran for, I think, 6 years. And then you had, he was also prominent character in the John Wick franchise as well. I know a handful of Lance Reddick roles, but I know Joe obviously too. I don't think it would be right me saying I have no interest in John Wick and then eulogizing Lance Reddick over here to begin with. I think that you've definitely seen more movies, have a little bit more of a connection to him than I do. As sad as it is about the news in general, but I'll pass it off to Joe here to do a little remembering of Lance Reddick, because this was some sad news to read for sure on Friday.
This was the most caught off guard I was about a celebrity death. It's just something like, I actually know Chadwick Boseman for sure was one of them that made
That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, like it's like, no, you're kidding. But this is up there too, because when I heard it, I was like, no, you must be mixing up with some other actor. You're racist. You think you think he's some other black guy? Come on, like don't do this to me. But unfortunately, Lance Reddick passed away, revealed to natural causes apparently, last Friday. Yeah, I was so sad to hear this because the guy has been almost in anything I've watched growing up, or it's not even just watched. This guy is in tons of stuff: TV, music, movies, video games especially, which I'll touch on in a little bit. This guy he's one of those actors, he just loved to act. You go to his IMDb page, and it is just loaded with, like, even though he's passed away, we will be seeing him in 9 projects that have yet to come out still. Whether it's a video game, a TV show, or a movie, you'll see him still in many projects. One of them being the White Man Can't Jump remake that's coming out later this year in May. He's one of the main characters, actually. He's going to be in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. He's playing Zeus, which is an amazing... I'm not crazy about those books, but I think that's a good pick based on the 2 or 3 of them that I did read. I absolutely love this guy and everything he's done. Like Steve said, he's in the John Wick movies. Very, probably my favorite character in those movies, too. He plays as, like, the... at first you think he's just like the front desk person to like the International Assassin Hotel thing that the John Wick movies have, but no, then you realize like how much more he's like involved in this whole like business and everything, and how calming he is, and just how reserved he is as like this like this brutal killer that he is deep down inside. Like, oh my god, he played it so good. As Steve mentioned, The Wire, probably HBO's best show that was going on alongside like one of their other best shows, The Sopranos. He's great in that. The other thing I wanted to touch on is his presence in video games. This guy, in terms of just voice acting in general, he's in a ton of animated stuff, cartoons and all. But video game wise, the guy was a big video game player himself. He's been playing video games ever since he was a kid, and he still plays them literally 2 days before he passed away. He was playing a game he stars in, which I'll touch on shortly. But he's been in tons of stuff, from the Quantum Break video game adaptation to Payday 2, a very popular co-op heist game. But the most infamous role is probably, I should say 2 infamous roles, actually. He's in the new PlayStation Horizon Zero Dawn franchise, which is like a big PlayStation exclusive. But a lot of video game players probably know him from his character he played in Bungie's big MMO game, Commander Zavala in Destiny 2. Actually, both Destinies, I should say. That was the game he was playing 2 days before passing away. And he's been playing that character since 2013, and that with Destiny 2 they've been having expansions and constantly bringing him back. He's actually the only original voice actor from the first game to come back, because that first game had like a budget of like $1 million, billion, whatever the hell it was.
They didn't even bring back Peter Dinklage. I think
they didn't bring back Dinklage. They didn't bring back like some of the Walking Dead actors. They didn't bring back, someone's texting me, but they don't ever listen to me when I say I'm busy. They didn't bring back Rosario Dawson. He was the only one that came back, and like it's just because he had a love for video games that he didn't mind coming back constantly to voice people for expansions, because that was just the thing. Bungie had the money to do it. It's just like, hey, we need you to come back yearly to voice this character for like 20 plus hours like a day. Well, not 20 plus hours a day, but like you have to do 20 hours of recording basically.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Apparently he also had like close to 3,000 hours of game time supposedly clocked on Destiny. Like he wasn't just like, I'm here and then I don't even know what this game is, which is fine. I'm not blaming it. Not every actor has to do that for the games they voice in, but just the fact that he went that extra step and he was
in it.
Yeah, he was in it.
He would play anything he starred in. And there's this video right here. The video, hopefully the video quality shoots up because Twitter has a terrible video quality. But this is in the hub world area. Okay, now it's buffering, so hopefully it shoots up in quality. Nope, okay. But you can see, like, this is like the hub world area. There we go, looks a little bit better. And his character's standing right there. You can go up and talk to him. And here's all the players online. They're just gathered around doing, like, a peaceful emote. They were doing this for, like, hours and hours throughout the whole time. I don't play Destiny 2 that much. But I actually signed on just to go see, like, man, would this happen if I were to go to, like, the hub world right now? And as soon as I logged in, everybody in that area, it's like 30 plus players, whatever, like in an area at a time, they were all sitting around him and everything, just playing tribute. It's amazing.
Wow.
The other thing, he's gonna be playing Hellboy, not in a live action movie or TV show, but he's gonna be playing him in a video game, very upcoming, like anticipated game. It's being like, the art style of it is reminiscent of like the comics and everything. It has more of the Del Toro like feel to it from the looks of things. And if for those of you who are just familiar with video game terms, it's going to be a roguelike game. Those are like the most popular like games going on right now with a lot of gamers, between like stuff like Elden Ring and like all these other games where it's like you're made to die, you're made to get your ass kicked in this game, and he's going to be voicing Hellboy. So it's like he's going to be in tons of stuff. But the thing that always made me love about this guy, I know I'm going on really long here, we have a whole review to get to, and this is the last thing, is the weirder side to Lance Reddick. If you
everyone's calling him Riddick, as in like Chronicles of Riddick. I did it too.
I always
I've
said
noticed
that as a kid, like ever since like I discovered him as like an actor. But this is what made me love this guy so much. If you go on the Washington Post, and if you can, deal with how many times you need to subscribe to the Washington Post in order to access this article, they actually commented, I think, on what made him so appealing to a lot of people, including myself, and it was the weirder, goofier side of him. He did a ton of sketches with Funny or Die, and he was the best part of those sketches. He plays like Toys R Me is one of them that they bring up in this article. This is the one that always stood out to me, where it's a toy store and he treats it like it's military. Like, you need to know all these things about toys. You need to know all these things about Play-Doh. You need to serve the customer and everything. He's like this like lieutenant general, like manager of a store and everything. There was this whole IHOP sketch kind of reminiscent of The Wire as well, which I thought was great. One of my favorites is it wasn't with Funny or Die, but for those who are familiar with the Eric Andre show, he usually brings guests on and just messes with them the entire time. He's one of the few people that knew what he was walking into and got basically to mess with Eric, where like he punches Eric's desk in anger and walks away, and Eric thinks like, oh my god, that was for real, to only come out as his as a Star Trek character and just like do this whole like thing and just totally throw Eric off his groove and just make him like weirded out. The guy,
my girlfriend brought that clip to my attention too, so that was very fun to see.
The guy is just known for being totally goofy. His wife posted a very heartwarming message on Instagram if you want to go read it. It actually made me like very heartfelt, emotional. And it's just sad to see a guy like him at the age of 60 especially pass away, when it was a guy that truly loved just acting in any capacity, and I'm gonna miss him dearly as an actor.
That was tough news to swallow. I was pretty shocked when you actually messaged me about it too. When you sent that the message on Friday afternoon and stuff, because it's one of those guys too that was just full of life every time you saw him too. He's just really full of life, like on screen. He's done so much, and he's so prominent too. I mean, even beyond The Wire and John Wick, like looking at his like filmography and stuff, he's just in so much. He's in so many movies that a lot of people see, a lot of blockbusters. My favorite credit must be, it's not that I've played this game or anything, but I just like how it's there. His very first video game credit, according to Wikipedia, was 50 Cent Blood on the Sand.
I saw that too, and I'm like, someone's going to mention that, aren't they, tonight? If not me, someone.
I forgot that there was not one but two 50 Cent games. There was a Bulletproof on PS2, which I remember playing and renting, and it sucked. But Blood on the Sand
slaps.
Was better.
I didn't play it. And I was just curious. I just went on eBay to like look. Like $70 is the cheapest one. Like more money than it was when it was.
It's got a cult following, even though it's not the greatest game, but it was kind of fun. And like, wasn't there like a dedicated swear button?
There was, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, you just like press a button and then 50 Cent would go, fuck a piece of fucking shit. I'm like, holy shit. Wow.
It's a fun game, dude.
I suffered through Bulletproof. I remember playing it as a kid, and I can't even get a copy of Blood on the Sand now without like taking out a second mortgage. All right, Lance Reddick though.
The only in all these roles, The Wire, John Wick, all that pales in comparison to his appearance on the Eric Andre show. His infamous appearance on the Eric Andre show. It's the first thing that if you type in Lance Reddick on YouTube, the first search result, second one will just be Eric Andre. And it's such an infamous scene, one of the few pranks on Eric himself, and just God, it's so good. And then when LeVar Burton got him, not him, he wasn't there, but when LeVar Burton did the reverse, I wish I was Lance Reddick. But Lance Reddick's line right before, one of the greatest cutoff screams in history, but it's like, warp speed, don't rainbow read me. And it's just so good. It's just so good. The Star Trek
visor
LeVar Burton thing while he's in the kid get up. I'm like, holy shit. What a bit. What a legend. And like, despite all of his seriousness, his just totally commanding presence in whatever he's in, the fact that he has that humor too was just legendary.
He had like a childlike spirit, and I think that's what a lot of people are remembering in lieu of his passing.
60 years old.
Rest in peace to Lance Reddick, though. Great job with the remembrance, Joe. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
We shall march forward. Scream at 6. A little bit late on the review of this movie due to the fact that we had to cover the Oscars last week. I do not regret putting the Oscars before Scream 6. Let me just say that first and foremost. You know what's funny? And this was like a point of irony watching this just initially that I didn't think about until I was actually watching the movie. Like, just saying Scream 6 aloud is pretty wild because, like, the series has officially reached this point where, like, it has the same number of sequels as the horror franchises it's been parodying for so many years. Like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, they all have like 7, 8, 9 sequels. This has now reached sort of that point. And it's the first one without Sidney Prescott without Nev Campbell, which is disappointing. And full disclosure, she's not a cameo in this thing. It wasn't a marketing hype. It was, unfortunately, it was in reality a weak contract offer that kept her from starring in this, which really sucks. Like that already kind of put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth going into this. But this sequel does set itself apart from a few of the Scream sequels, notably because we're not in Woodsboro anymore. We're in New York. This is Ghostface Takes Manhattan as a play on the Friday the 13th Part 8. But it picks up a few years after the fifth movie, which came out last year. That movie was a requel, if you need a refresher. That is a requel is a movie that is predicated sort of on the subject matter and characters of an earlier film or series, but it's not a remake of the original, nor is it a direct sequel. It's kind of just, in a way, a requel is reminding you something exists. I guess in some ways, Good Burger 2, which just got announced this week, is kind of a requel. We won't go there, though. But essentially, though, Ghostface emerges in New York City, and it's right at the same time Sam Carpenter, played by Melissa Barrera, and her sister Tara, played by Jenna Ortega. It's right about the same time that them two are really trying to get like their lives on track, insofar that Sam has kind of become the helicopter sister over Tara as Tara's going to college in New York. Though the one of the interesting screenwriting decisions here that I thought was pretty good initially is that the movie, like, and it's really a real reflection of the culture, truthfully, I think one of the smartest things this movie does, at least like in terms of how it's written, is that, like, if you remember in Scream 2, Sidney Prescott was viewed fairly sympathetically by the masses and everything that she experienced. This, like, in true to fashion, typical outrage climate that we live in nowadays, Sam Carpenter is fucking lambasted all over the place. Like, she has really become like the target of like scrutiny and skepticism and a lot of disbelief by people who think that she was the one who orchestrated the more recent Woodsboro massacre. But again, Matt Bettinelli opened, Tyler Gillett, they're 2/3 of Radio Silence, the filmmaking trio. They are behind this sixth installment as well. They were the ones behind the fifth one. I think that there are some things that this movie does well. I think it's better than the fifth movie. I wasn't super high on the fifth movie, but I think a change of scenery greatly improves this movie from its sequel. But I can't help but feel there's still not a great clear-cut direction for this new series now in new hands. It's really missing, I think, the wit and the veteran guidance and the experience of Wes Craven or somebody of that creed. I think that is sorely lacking. And we'll dive into this more after you give the general thoughts, but I'm just going to say this, like, this is more of the fault on the writing than it is on her. But I still don't feel like these new characters are that solidified. Sam Carpenter is not does not feel like a great lead to me. She feels like a great supporting character, but she, like, by this point in the original series, and like the first couple of movies, Sidney Prescott had already solidified herself. I don't think Sam and Tara, I think Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega have real chemistry, and I think that sort of distracts from the fact that these characters are still pretty underwritten as a whole, and that part of it frustrated me too. There's some more points I'll bring up, but I'll turn it over to Joe to continue. General thoughts on Scream 6.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the what you said about Sam and Tara. I'll just jump from there and I'll give more of my general impressions. Going out of Scream 5, I kind of felt that way. I was like, the new characters aren't really completely sold to me just yet. I think they have great actors playing them. But by the end of this movie, I was all for, hey, I actually really dig Sam and Tara as like the leads in this movie, the two main characters you basically follow. I really like the approach they took with Sam's character, in that, like, and it even makes more sense when you think about it more, where it's like, yeah, now because like the stab movies and like these killings have kind of made like their own like culture and fan base and everything, obsession with them, that like, yeah, there probably would be people now on the internet being like, oh, this person, like, you know, Ghostface Killer and all this stuff and blah blah blah, like, you know, it's all the points Steve brought up at, like, comparison to the real world. But even within Scream's universe, it's like I can believe that as well because of how obsessed people are with the stab movies within that own universe. So much so that even the last movie had the killer actually turn out to be like the whole thing about it being obsessed fans, and like, you know, kind of relating back to what happened when Episode 8 of Star Wars came out and how that fan base reacted. So I actually really enjoyed their whole storyline in this movie way more, and their whole development here. I love how they're playing much more into Sam's like PTSD of like the fact that her father, and this is spoilers if you haven't seen Scream 5, but her father is oh my god,
Billy
Skeet.
Loomis.
Yeah, I was say the actor's name, but yeah. Billy Loomis, yeah. She's Billy Loomis's
How
daughter.
Is Skeet the real name and Billy Loomis is the never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
That's like, I always wondered that too when I first got introduced to him through Scream. I love what they're doing with Jenna Ortega's character Tara, where she's just like, hey, look, I'm like I was in high school when that happened, and I'm not gonna let that define me. I want to live my life. That was the whole point of us moving out here, and kind of like the battle they have between each other and where that goes throughout the film and everything. I believe, yeah, they have solid chemistry. Now, as for the other two people of the core four, I think they're okay. I like them a lot better in this movie, especially Chad. I thought Chad was like a total bro to hang out with, honestly, and I really actually dug him as a character. His sister, Mindy, is a little bit better in this movie, but kind of relating to what Steve brought up about the writing, I feel like she's just there to be the new Randy and to be the person to pause the movie and go, all right, guys, because it's a Scream movie, we have to bring up the rules of whatever we're parodying this time. And it's like, I would love to see this character be much more than that at some point, because that's what Randy was. Randy brought that up, but like maybe it was just the performance. Maybe it was just the great writing that happened with the original Screams as well. But he was so much more than that as a character, in my opinion. But she's better here in some ways. Like, she actually feels like, you know, an actual character, and they do feel like more brother and sister than just, hey, look, legacy character thing for Randy. So that way, you know, like, fans coming back to see Scream 5, Randy, some part of Randy still lives on here. And the location, as Steve was saying, I think the location is the best thing about this movie, and it's what made me really like it a ton. Because I think this movie, and I'll pass it off to Dom after this because I know we're about to cut to break. I think New York City as a whole is a character of in itself in this movie, because they really play a lot with the setting of New York in here. From the claustrophobia of like being in dense crowds on the subway, to the small condensed bodega shops that, like, if you were ever trapped in one and there's only one way out, how screwed you would be. Yeah. It's just like, you know, the great setting of it being set around Halloween, the tight apartment, like the ladder sequence, that was great. Like, we
haven't seen much of that in Scream before, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's always been in kind of just like literally like
a suburban,
a town like we all went to college to. Like, you know, imagine like our hometown college town like was like turned into a horror setting. That's basically what Woodsboro is like.
Versus this big city. Yeah, no, it's a stark contrast from any of the previous ones.
Yeah, and to see them go all the way out with it, it was like, okay, you didn't just change it up to be bigger. You actually used the setting for very tense sequences, and just like, and overall, I think like it plays as a character itself in that regard too. I think it's so, and I love it too, because it's just like, man, New Yorkers would not give a damn. Like, you know, they'll see somebody sitting down in an alley who obviously got stabbed to death, and they're just like, ah, and just continue about their day. I even think the opening to this movie threw me off as well. I thought it was a really cool opening. It's a much more refreshing opening to see rather than the last one, which was literally just a repeat of the first Scream movie. I could go on, but we got 4 minutes. I want Dom to get his general thoughts before we go to break.
I've seen Scream 1, 2, 5, and 6 now. Now, when I saw Scream 5, or just Scream, God damn it, that's actually really frustrating me now that, whatever. When I saw Scream 5, I'm seeing them all lined up, and why is this one got a Roman numeral? Okay, focus. Scream 5. At first, I thought when they introduced the two leads here, the Carpenter sisters, I thought I was missing something in Scream 4. And Steve, you're right. Their introduction in these past two movies and their handling has been kind of a little poor for being the new, faces of it. And you're right. It's the writing. The actors are doing the actresses are doing perfectly fine here, particularly Ortega. But I think it's a problem just of where we are with Scream. You've got the legacy characters, so that's like a chunk of space there. You've got not only the two new leads, but you've got the siblings that are part of the core four. And you've got to make room for all you've got like Hayden Panettiere as an FBI agent now, and then you've got to make room for the killers. You have to develop a cast as the killers, so that you have room for a whodunit.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the theme of which is kind of the fun part of all these movies. And the tough part is that it's very difficult for any writer to come out of this with something, with a good, well-rounded movie. So I certainly see that here. But you know what? I don't know what it was. Maybe it is the fact that Sidney Prescott wasn't present despite the unfortunate circumstances. That always sucks when an actress gets shortchanged, supposedly in the negotiations. But I think it actually kind of worked with Prescott not being in this movie because there was a little more room to breathe. We still have the legacy characters of Gale Weathers and technically Billy Loomis. But that's really, I like how they have that. If they're going to do it this shtick of like, he's the father of Sam Carpenter, I think that's actually really cool. It could be really gimmicky, but they actually wound up being really cool. And it's a really cool dimension to her. And then Gale Weathers, okay, we have room for one actual present legacy character. I think that's good. Because then there was a little more room to breathe here for the others. And honestly, the four here and the others, it kind of worked for me. I don't know what it was. I'm like, is this what I was hoping Scooby-Doo, like the Scoob movie was good? Not exactly, but I kind of got that vibes. And it's like, hey, these four in college, it's kind of working for me here. And I don't know, maybe it's the fact that I saw Wednesday and like that, like I'm really into like that whole aesthetic, and Jenna Ortega's really hitting it now. She's a scream queen. Certainly helps, I'm sure. But there's something about
I have not seen much of Wednesday, but just because that the TikTok remix song Bloody Mary is so popular right now on my station, I will say her dance scene kills.
Yeah.
I have watched really that like 3 times guiltily.
Yeah. So, I'll just say that this, I honestly can't put my finger on it because I agree with you, Steve, but something about this is actually really working for me. And I think it's the fact that Sidney Prescott's character wasn't here, or the fact that there was one less legacy character and we only had one to deal with. It just worked for me. I can go into it more, but yeah.
We will take our Zoom-sponsored intermission. Come on back. I'll give Dom, I'll give you the first word when we come back, just because you've got the least amount of time out of all of us to give your general thoughts. We are running a little bit late here on the show today, but no worries. We'll come back and talk Scream 6 here in about 60 to 90 seconds. Don't go anywhere. This is Sleepless with Steve. Back and better than ever after our Zoom sponsored intermission. It is Sleepless with Steve, live and in living color on YouTube, wherever you may be, however you may be listening on this Wednesday evening. Got Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon. We were talking Scream 6. We're going to continue talking about Scream 6. Dom kind of got cut off with his general thoughts just because we are running a little behind on this show today. So, Dom, I'll give you the floor once again, though, to talk about generally any other points you want to bring up, just broadly speaking, about Scream 6.
Yeah, it's really just playing into what I was saying earlier, is that this film for me, compared to Scream, so 5, it had a little more room to breathe because it didn't have the fact that, okay, this is potentially the final movie. I was actually surprised we got a Scream 6 at all, because I felt like you could have ended it right there. Like you could have closed the book on it, particularly similar to how not Nightmare on Elm Street, Laurie Strode, Jason. That movie, like that one, I'm sure they're gonna bring it back, but you could easily close the book on that. Halloween, you could easily close the book on Halloween.
It was Michael Myers too, not Jason, for the record.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ! Sorry, I was looking through a Wikipedia of Dead by Daylight, and I'm like, damn, they really got this stacked here. Anyway, but this film felt like the characters had a little more room to breathe. I know there's always sacrificial lambs in every movie, a Scream movie, and that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. But with the core 4 and with the legacy characters, the fact that like you have legacy characters here, I mean, I guess that's always been a thing, because we had Randy in the second movie, who is technically a holdover from the first, and he dies. And I'm like, I kind of like what they're doing with that theme, where like, yeah, nobody is safe, as Mindy plainly states out. And I thought her scene was even better than her first like explain everything meme thing in the first one.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the city setting, as you guys said. I like that there's more to do here. I like the core 4. They're really developing in what I think are cool ways. It just feels like that the writers here just had one less thing to deal with. And again, I'm not shitting on Sidney Prescott or the actress. It is unfortunate whatever happened there in the deals. I'm just saying that it just so happened that the equation wound up better for me. So yeah, I had fun with it. I got some of those I was like, this is like Scooby-Doo. They're in college and people are actually getting killed here. And I think that was, I haven't seen Velma. I don't want to see Velma because that looks like a hot effing mess, but it's kind of like what I think it'd be. Joe, we were talking just off air right before, saying like, how would we write this? Just the fact that we're even sinking our teeth into that seems that we're leading into something there.
Yeah, because like, there's so many times too, like, and it does deal with the criticism I have with the movie, which is the weakest thing about this movie to me is the writing. I think in terms of story and screenplay. Some of it works really well, and I think it's really the actors carrying a lot of it from time to time, and just the director's radio silence, that is, making really tense sequences, really fun edge of your seat sequences, and how gory this one is. This is the goriest Scream by far. Like, holy crap. But when it's time like for like the story to play out, you kind of feel some familiar beats. Especially when you get to the ending and the reveal, it really feels like we're hitting another Scream movie that also takes place in college with how the reveal goes down. I was just like, all right, we're in a theater and this is happening again, and the reveal is something like this. Okay.
Is it getting too up its own ass about like, this is the 6th Scream movie? There have been 6 killers now, or 5 killers now, and
I think it is, because now with every one of these movies, though, it's like he or she is somebody's daughter. He is the cousin of this person.
Legacy, and it's like.
It is getting up its own ass to a certain degree, and I think the longevity of this series is kind of hurting its inventiveness in a way.
It worked for me in 5, or at least I could tolerate it very well in 5, because that's like, okay, the fact that it's called Scream, this could be the last ride for whatever characters, or even the whole series, I don't know. But that's like, okay, if you're going to do a Scream 6 after 5, after that ending, it's like, okay, I'm not saying you don't have to completely eject the legacy characters. I mean, it's fine. You can have that. But like, yeah, I feel like you need to really pull back away from that. You've already moved to a different location, which is great. I like that. Can you like not be up your own ass about it. I
And,
don't know.
and like at least. Actually, if I reveal that, there'll be a spoiler. I'll have to tell you guys in the green room.
It's okay. I think I know what you're gonna say. How they handled the legacy characters, but like it's okay. Like, I'm not saying you need to like I don't know. Like you can reference all of that happened before. That's fine. Like there is a continuation, but just how like yeah, it took place in a theater. Here's like a stage with the sick like the authentic six killer robes or whatever.
And I thought that like, and while that is fan service to like
it is cool, but yeah, cool. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for.
It made me actually realize this too. Because like with the absence of Sydney there, I thought, okay, when we get to this scene, because they promoted it in the trailers and everything, I'm like, dude, I bet it's gonna feel really weird like not having Sydney there when it's like, dude, all of this revolves around her. But they bring up such a good point, which is Ghostface has affected a lot more people other than Sydney. Like, and everybody that's in this museum area has been affected by Ghostface in some sort of way. And like to another thing about like the legacy character, I mean, I think Gail, like her whole like confrontation with Ghostface the first time she actually gets a call from him, I thought that scene was so damn good. Like I love it how much she outsmarts him too by calling him back. Like that actually got a big laugh out of me.
I will say this though. I like that scene. I really wish that damn scene wasn't spoiled in the trailer.
Yeah, same.
Because the first I really wish that scene wasn't spoiled in the trailer. Number one, number two. I'm just gonna bring up this point though, and it's a good scene. Okay, and I'm not gonna. And this isn't really a CinemaSins critique here. This is just something I thought about. Like we all kind of know how that scene plays out. It's very vividly outlined in the trailer, but it's like, you know, at this point in the sixth movie, he's in the house, he's talking loud enough, and he's using a voice changer. You can't fucking hear him in your own loft. You can't figure that out.
It's a big loft. She's got money, man.
I just bugged me. That part, like after a while, I'm just like, and then the other thing is too, the other funny part is her boyfriend or whoever that was in that scene. They do not acknowledge his ass at all.
They don't. If you want to,
he is the most sacrificial lamb.
I am not holding that against the movie. I just thought it was absolutely fucking riotously funny that he is not acknowledged whatsoever.
You got to check out the Double Toasted review of this because they bring that up, and because it's like a black guy and Double Toasted is all black.
I noticed that.
They made fun out of that scene to the limit, man. It's
even
so
for a horror movie, that black character was expendable. Holy shit!
The movie.
Those two things bugged me about it. Bugged the crap out of me about that scene, though.
The movie. Just pivoting back because I can't really accentuate that anymore. But the movie. I'm saying up its own ass. That's a little harsh, but it really does need to free itself from the screamness of it all. Mm-hmm. And like you the road is open here. You honestly, opened up a little bit with the environment, but like there's so much cool things. Like the fact that Scream is effectively like a contagion, like a mental virus that is like in the getting really dark, but the same way that like Columbine has inspired so many school shooters. You could play into like how Scream has done all, which they have, but like really go down that route and like really make that the center of it.
It's a good point.
A pandemic happened that really affected New York. You could, I don't know, play that up. True crime podcasts are a thing. I joke about it all the time because I work on some podcasts and we're constantly making fun of.
They do bring up.
I'm sorry.
With
okay, you know what they do, but like
they don't really play with it too much.
They don't really play with it too much because. You are right that Sam Carpenter is treated like shit compared to
Sydney.
But like the fact that like okay, the fact that the character is treated like shit, and honestly the actress has also been treated like shit. Online, because online is a thing now these days. Also, she's a woman of color, an actress of color. Like play into that doubly so. I don't know. The point is Josh Segarra is an incredible actor and should win an Oscar for this movie. He is the boyfriend to Sam Carpenter. I'm joking, but he is such goddamn what a presence he brings to whatever role he's in. I thought when I first saw Josh Segarra in She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, which is a series I actually did like, I was like, oh, okay, wow, he's really he has a fun character. And then I saw him in this, I'm like, oh shit, is he just like this in every movie? He's a very distinct actor. It's like, okay.
I
I
am more
enjoy it.
I am more lukewarm on this movie than both of you guys, but I will say, I really did enjoy the opening sequence here. I did with I think for having Joe and I, we've seen all the Scream movies. I think this was a really clever one. I
Yeah,
thought that and I think that's kind of why like certain things about this movie bug me more because that opening scene
was so refreshing.
subverts the convention of past Scream opening scenes with Samara Weaving, who collaborated with these directors in Ready or Not. And then you also have Tony Revolori from the Grand Budapest Hotel in it too. This subverts that so well and subverts the cliche of openers to Scream movies, subverts that on top of the fact that like it plays with the New York setting.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm like this is off to a good start. And then I feel like it doesn't go completely off the rails, but it uses the New York setting the New York City setting really well, as you mentioned before.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, like, and I'll talk about it more in the green room when we're done with the show. Like that opening, and I had to deal with it throughout the rest of the movie. That opening made me write a movie in my head, and I was like, damn, I don't mean to like kind of like brag, but I think I did write almost a better movie in some regard than the movie we got. And I like the movie.
I'm excited to hear.
I do. Like it was just like I saw like what they did in the opening. I'm like, oh my god, are we gonna do this with the movie? That would be insane. And then like where it goes, it's like, oh no, I mean it still is a traditional Scream movie of whodunit and everything. But I'm like, but damn, this would have been a really awesome sequel if it would have done this. Like, and I don't know. I'll wait to hear what you guys say. Maybe I'm just being a fanboy and totally.
It's a trap. It's a trap to fall into, as if
Yeah.
we've ever written a screenplay. I don't know if you have, but I've never written a screenplay in my life. But it's a very easy trap to fall into as a fan. But honestly, like the fact that like as I keep watching these movies, I'm liking them more. Let me just say that.
I've always.
I don't know. Are we
liked
going to
them.
pivot to final thoughts?
I've always liked them with rewatches.
Yeah, we can.
Too.
If I may start off.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
That like 1, 2, 5, and 6, I've actually liked one progressively more. To the point where I'm actually liking Scream 6 the most, which sounds weird to you guys, I'm sure, but like something about it, like I like the formula set up in the first two, and then what they did in 5 was actually pretty cool. But the legacy thing was really, it was both, they did a good job with it, but also weighing down on the new characters. And Scream 6, I see the potential so much, and I want them to accentuate the new characters here even more than they already have. Because I'm holding out hope, as you said, Steve, I'm holding out hope that there is a really good character in the Carpenter sisters that they can really exploit to the maximum effect, because I'm thinking here for 7, I don't know. And it does make me worried. It's like, okay, if they bring Sidney, I'm assuming they're going to bring Sidney Prescott back for the next one. Assuming it's like, I hope her presence back doesn't crowd the field again with whatever legacy characters decide to bring back. It makes me worried there. I'm sure she'll do great. I'm sure whatever, but it's like, are we gonna get back to like what Scream 5 was doing here? That the part that I didn't like, we will see. I don't know. So oh man, I'm actually gonna just fall into 3. I'm gonna just get into 3 out of 4 stars here. We'll see, but it's a hopeful 3 out of 4 stars for me, surprisingly.
I'll go and then I'll leave it to Joe with final word here. There are elements of this I really like. The New York setting, obviously, being one of them. Really like that bodega scene, the subway scene as well. It just, and this isn't a knock on the movie, but it just pisses me off that like all those scenes were shown in the trailer.
Yeah,
like
man.
So we all had an idea. That trailer, Dom had probably the best experience out of all of us because he didn't have to
I
sit
didn't
through
watch
the fucking
anything,
trailer for the last 3 months and see the same things. Like, but anyway, that's either here or there.
This movie though did kill it though. I will say that all the posters, all the digital marketing, the in-person marketing they did, where that stuff we brought up in our missing review, where you can go to locations of like popular like attractions and there's a ghost face standing there somewhere in the crowd. Like, oh my god,
the guerrilla marketing was great. Like the phone calls, the guerrilla marketing was great, but like the incessant trailers did get away from this thing and ruined a lot of the surprise, I think. But I'm gonna say, like, I'll say this: there are a lot of elements I like. Didn't outright loathe this thing as it might seem. I think the actors are really good. I think that I mean, I was saying that Sam and Tara still have yet to really solidify themselves, which I believe to be true. But like, I mean, when you compare the fact that like most of their friend group is getting hacked before you can even know their first name in this thing, it really isn't too difficult. I'm gonna say this though, and I might be in the minority on this. I kind of wish they'd get new directors. I really do. I am not a big fan of Bettinelli Olpin and Tyler Gillett. I'm not. I think that I think that, and I've seen other of their movies. I wasn't a big fan of Devil's Due. The only movie I've truly really liked by them is Ready or Not.
I love Ready or Not.
At this point. But what's missing from this movie, like, there's really no new dynamic here, though, if you really think about it. Aside from the fact that Sam Carpenter is loathed, there really isn't a new dynamic being brought forth here. The kills are bloodier. Ghostface is more violent. But I think back to Wes Craven, even in probably the most misguided installment of this series, which was Scream 3. It was tamer on the violence, but the commentary on the horror landscape was still strong. And you could still come away with like an idea of what they were lampooning and a topic of what they were lampooning. Like you could work off of that. With the third movie, it was trilogies and so on. Like, it didn't matter how bloody the original Scream movies were. It didn't matter because the commentary was at least a little bit stronger and maybe in so many words carried it more so than some of the events actually did. But I feel like with Scream 6, as time goes on, you're going to be left recalling the kills and the fact that Gail answered the phone and Gail got a phone call of her own, more so than anything very substantive with
Hey man, I'm interested that Tara likes Chad, and I
2.5 out of 4 for me. And I
oh, that's more than I thought you'd get.
I flirted with 2. I really did. I flirted with.
I was
2.
expecting 2. Yeah.
But it's 2.5 out of 4 with me. I don't think they're going to, but I really do. I hold out hope that they're going to get new directors though, because
Directors or writers.
I'm honestly
both?
fine with both.
Honestly,
I'm neutral.
I'm a Bears fan. Clean house. I'm a Bears fan. Clean house. Like, we gotta get your ass gone. We gotta get new blood in here. But
that's good.
But at any rate, I will leave it to Joe with the final word on Scream 6.
Yeah, man. I mean, like going off of what I said, I said both. I'm cool with them still being directors. I just think they need a solid writing team. They really need a writer like they had.
That probably more so than anything,
like,
in their defense.
Because I think back, I really do. I think back to when they made the first one in '96, right? Yeah, 96.
Kevin Williamson.
Yeah, Kevin Williamson. Like, just how good of a writer he was for 1, 2, and 4, and just like what he really brought to those movies. In terms of all that, and like even The Faculty, which is another great, like, to me, underrated hit of like the 90s horror scene or early 2000s. But like I think Radio Silence as directors, I think they're good. Like, for God's sake, I mean, like, I think, like I said, they made great tense sequences. I'm fine if a new talent wants to come in, but I really do think writing is the weakest thing here. Despite the fact I walked away enjoying these characters more this time around, and like actually thinking like some of the jokes were better in this movie and everything. Because I just didn't feel that way about Scream 5. I walked away from Scream 5 being like, I had fun, but I was expecting more. This is like a good, solid sequel to me. I was thinking it was gonna be way better in some ways, because I was so hyped for this movie, like, because I was enjoying all the marketing. I love the idea of it going to a new location, and then once I saw it, I was like, it's great. I mean, it's good, but there are moments I'm like, it could have been great, and I really feel like it's the writing that's holding this back in some terms. But I did enjoy it. Just like Dom, I'm all about Chera. I can't wait to see them in the sequel, man. Develop their love story even more. So yeah, for me.
Oh my! I just realized you combined the names.
Yeah, that's their ship name, dude. Chera. So yeah, I can't wait for like Scream 7, because I do like these characters more. I'm more invested in them to see where they go, and just to see what they do with legacy characters. If City's not in 7, and dude, you better stop at 8. 8 better be like the most we get out of this franchise at this point, because it's just like, all right, that's like 4 sequels with the original characters and 4 sequels with these new ones. Let's just call it there. I love this.
They got room to make new characters.
They do. They did that.
You can swap the core 4 out.
They did that with the MTV show, so we'll see. Yeah, for me, it's a solid 3 out of 4 stars. If you go see this with a crowd, and like, dude, all the Scream fans I've talked to, except for like Steve and mutual friend of ours, Lexi, I talked. Like, these are the only two people I knew that were just kind of like on it. When I left the movie.
Lexi is my ultimate voice on Scream, though. When she gave it 2.5 out of 5, I felt a little validated. I've yet to talk to her about it, like on the phone or or whatnot. But we do have to have a conversation on Scream.
I was talking to her on Letterboxd, and I was like, I even thought to myself, isn't it funny they bring up this fucking app in the movie too? But like when I left the movie, I saw it with like 3 friends of mine that like are all Scream fanatics, and they did not like 5 that much. They came out loving this one. They're like, no, dude, this was more of what I wanted from Scream 5. Yeah, they gave to them. They said like on like our scale, this would be 3.5 for them. I was like, shit,
did they say why? Could you extrapolate why?
They just thought like as a sequel, it reinvented a lot of stuff. They did feel like some of the writing wasn't that good, but they thought like everything else was just so refreshing about a sequel to Scream. That they were just like so happy about that they were like, this carries it over. Like the new setting, the fact the new characters actually work for them, just how brutal they made Ghostface, which was a welcome change. I even asked them like, because the weakest part for me is the writing, which eventually leads to just a climax reveal that I thought was all right. The climax itself is cool, but the reveal I thought was kind of lame. But they were like, no, it makes sense if you think about it. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm like, I think they might be on a high. I'll talk to them in a month or two. And like, but yeah, for them, they just messaged me right now too. When you go and watch this, you'll hear the ding from Messenger. Anyways, yeah, 3 out of 4 stars for me.
At Scream 6, we'll be back here same time, same place for Scream 7 next year, early next year. Because, I mean, yeah, it only took us 14 months to get the 6th movie. Yeah. If you think about it, it only took us 14 months. So I wouldn't be surprised we get Scream 7 around this time next year. At any rate, you probably just see I got turned a little blue over here because of my second monitor. I pulled up the Blockbuster website. Look at this blue tint on us right now. You know what we're talking about right now. God damn, I'm going to start singing Eiffel 65 over here. But this was a little shocking thing. I was up way too late a few nights ago, and I had to message you guys when I found this out. But Blockbuster.com is active again. Blockbuster.com is active. You go there, you see the old Blockbuster logo, and in that classic yellow font, it says, "We are working on rewinding your movie." Now, there's been no official announcement. There's been no official press release pertinent to this. There's just been a lot of speculation as to in regards of what it might be. I think comicbook.com does a pretty good job, at least kind of distilling down things, at least the backstory on this. But Blockbuster at one point had over 9,000 locations in all over in the U.S. and Canada. They filed for bankruptcy in 2010, and by 2014, all the stores were closed. All the chain stores were closed. There were a few individual operators that had the Blockbuster brand that were still allowed to operate. Those mainly went by the wayside, except for the one in Bend, Oregon, that's still going strong, that has become a beacon. It's become a tourist attraction and become like a beacon of internet meme humor and everything like that. It's also a really good documentary on it on Netflix. It's called The Last Blockbuster. Yeah, go watch The Last Blockbuster documentary on Netflix too and find the irony. But also in recent years, there's 2 things in this comic book article I didn't know. One, that Dish has been the one licensing the Blockbuster brand for those shirts, that short-lived Netflix TV show. Yeah, the game, the clothing, puzzles and everything. I didn't know Dish was behind that, number one. Number 2, they just brought this up in conjunction with Blockbuster potentially coming back in some way, shape, or form. Did you guys know Toys R Us is back now?
I did not, and when I heard about that, I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, because I was reading the article, it's like the recent revival of Toys R Us. I'm like, the what?
It's an in-store boutique. It's an
the last time I thought about Toys R Us was when I was in an abandoned Toys R Us near the Joliet Mall, getting my first vaccine for the COVID issued by the Illinois Air National Guard. That's the last time I thought about Toys R Us.
If that ain't a dystopian story, right there,
it was. Maroon 5 was playing while everyone was spaced out, and I could see the remnants of Toys R Us. Yeah, that was a
Jeffrey
time.
the Giraffe was happy for you. He was smiling down at you though last. God, that's a hellscape if I've ever heard of it. I remember you
It
brought it
was
up when it
surreal.
happened. I remember when you brought it up when it happened. I got mine at a community college. Mine was actually kind of fun.
Mm.
But
Oh,
but
it was fun, but it was also surreal.
yeah, but
Anyway,
Toys R Us, I guess, is an in-store boutique, like a store within a store at Macy's and stuff. So who
that
knows?
works.
But anyway, um, but yeah, so again, there's no confirmation, so it's all just speculation at this point at what Blockbuster.com going live really is going to mean, if anything at all. I think I was going to go around the poll here and take a little poll question. The obvious answer to me doesn't seem the most pragmatic, and the obvious answer to me is what a lot of people, it's not an original projection, but the very first thing I thought of was a streaming service.
Yeah.
But they are wicked late to the streaming game. And I think that if that's the move here, that they're going to try to be a streaming service, that's going to fail and fail pretty comically, truthfully. Because I think that what has come back now with Blockbuster, because Blockbuster now and video stores have been gone long enough in the mainstream for them to become nostalgic. We talked about this when Family Video finally closed its stores a couple of years ago during the pandemic. Video stores are now finally at that age now where they are nostalgic. And people when they talk about Blockbuster, what do they talk about? Same thing they talk about with every other video store, going there on a Friday night with their parents, picking out a movie, a video game, popcorn, snacks, candy, whatever the case may be. The brick and mortar experience. Blockbuster isn't anything but an ephemeral idea outside of the brick and mortar experience. So I think that if it's a streaming service, even if it's like a Voodoo clone, even if it's like where you have to rent things, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe you get like 2 days, even if it's almost like a novelty streaming service, like you get like a day to watch it. There's a late fee, who knows, whatever they'll incorporate a rewind animated GIF or something. Who knows? That's not going to sell this thing. It's going to be a cutesy mutesy idea. And then it's going to go by the wayside because they're already so late into the streaming game. Now, I'm just bloviating, and mainly, maybe you guys are more creative than me. I don't really know what else it could be because I don't see them opening video stores again. I don't know what it can be besides a streaming service, which seems like a recipe for disaster. Joe, do you have any better ideas than myself?
That was one of them. The other one I had was it was what was it called? Dish Network. This is gonna be their on demand. And it's gonna be themed this way and everything. Like if you subscribe to Dish Network, this will be another Voodoo basically. It's another website you can go to. And it's just themed Blockbuster. Right. And that this website will be Blockbustered out. Like I mean I'm like nerding out at the idea of this, but like you can walk
the website
down,
will look like a store or something.
Look like a store. You go down the where you go by genre, and like that's like going down the aisle of like action.
It's like looking at the stacks and stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I thought like it would be something like that where it's like you do all that, and like Steve said, like like it like when you're checking out this like real fun animations, whether it be like and like Dish is gonna have that. This is gonna be like Dish's like movie thing, like Voodoo, like. Oh my god, we get so many. Like Voodoo is like the long-lasting one, but there have been like Movies Anywhere. That used to be one, and it got
Movies Anywhere, Fandango, Google Play,
yeah.
Google Play Store, which you can rent movies from. But
yeah,
no, let this be a reminder: Voodoo's a freaking godsend.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I think it's gonna be. Don, what about you?
My $10 million tech startup idea is. The thing is, though, I think it only works if you're established already, which is obviously not working here because Blockbuster has to reestablish itself. But it's like, okay, you have the front page of a streaming service. Cool. But what if you had like a centralized live stream? So essentially a TV channel that everyone can experience when they land on the splash page. So it's like, okay, I want to watch Wednesday. Oh, hold on. Something's going on here. And we're all tuned into that experience. No matter what, that this opening splash page, not splash page, but like, okay, you have like the screen up, let's say here, right? Where I am. And then you have like, you could like the search bar underneath or something underneath, whatever, and some more like watch stuff down here, right? But that top page is is centralized, and it is a live feed, and that is the central feed. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what or whatever time zone you're in, everyone is watching this live right there. And that can be, you can host that for unique content as kind of like a merger between television and the streaming. So it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do whatever on Netflix. Okay, what's going on the live feed here? And the fact that it's centralized and live to everyone, that is the thing that makes it special. That is how, because I was thinking of how like Adult Swim, right? Bumpers, that every TV station worth its salt has good bumpers and good experiences and good community engagement, viewer engagement in between the shows. That's the bread and butter of what makes it. Streaming services don't have that. The closest I can think of is, I guess, maybe Netflix, because it was one of the first, and is kind of a legacy in that sense, whereas everyone jumped on board later, or everyone is already tied onto a brand like Peacock, or it's like the whole point there is
nowadays you could barely get through you could barely see directed by Steven Spielberg before the fucking thing goes in a picture-in-picture and wants to send you to another thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole thing. But it's like, in terms, like Netflix kind of has its own brand as its thing. So it's like, could they, bank into that more with bumpers, with celebrity appearances? It's like, hey, here's Jenna Ortega cooking with Jenna Ortega. Is it cake? I don't know. Just synergy, whatever. But
will it
like
blend?
The whole point. Wow, dude. Will it blend? Blast. But no. Hey, you know what? Will It Blend was part of the YouTube. It became like a YouTube thing. And it's like I remember, did you remember watching YouTube Live?
Yeah, YouTube Live in 08.
I remember Katy Perry singing very poorly. And
her saying, I remember too, I remember she said, strike a pose for the first annual YouTube Awards. And I remember watching it like, this isn't an award show. Who the hell briefed you? Like,
I don't know, but like the Will It Blend guy came out dancing for a hot second, along with like Darth Vader.
You had to be there. That was a fever dream. YouTube Live.
It really was that whole. But you know what? The point is, YouTube has that culture to bank off of, and they could host. I'm not even going into Blockbuster now, but they could host like a central feed.
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, everyone in the world can watch this feed right here, and this will be the highlight, the spotlight. You'll get your custom feeds. You can do your own thing. You don't have to, whatever. But this is the central grounding anchor thing. Could Blockbuster do that? Perhaps they can have they have their repertoire, their reservoir of streaming stuff, right? But if they get a central feed, they can, okay, our theme, bank on 80s and 90s shit. Personally, I don't think people get tired of that rather quickly. They already are, but it's like, okay, what if we get, I don't even know, because I'm so sick of 80s and 90s nostalgia right now, until the right movie comes along. But it's like, we could get this actor from the 90s, we could get Sidney Prescott, and we'll have the character of Sidney Prescott. Is Sidney Prescott the actor or the character?
Nev
Campbell.
Sorry,
Nev Campbell's the actress.
Campbell. Yeah, we can have Miss Campbell here do the. She can talk about Scream for an hour on the central feed, and then we'll have like you can watch all the Scream movies on the side here, instant here, jump off the feed, whatever.
But something more interactive, something more
podcast with
what you're even talking about too. Yeah. What you're even talking about too, just more broadly, I like is like communal viewing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I've been looking for. Yeah, communal viewing.
That's better. That's better than just another streaming service.
We kind of have that now, and it's less of a concerted thing and more of like a consequence of how we switched to dumping the whole season of a show at once. Communal viewing, we kind of have it with like a Game of Thrones thing, or what Star Wars is doing now, where it's like, okay, weekly. Let's actually get back to the weekly model. That's kind of a communal viewing. Hey, we can merge the two. We have a central. I keep saying central feed. I don't know why I like the term central feed, and you can even have like a live chat. I don't know. I think live chat would be stupid, but
that would devolve into OnlyFans links and racial slurs really quick.
Oh, don't get me wrong. If they did do this, they would absolutely put in a live chat. They would absolutely do it. Artistically, I would despise it. But
I would
yeah,
just
dude.
I would X that thing out really quick
Oh
because
yeah, 1000%.
let me tell you right now, and we'll end the show
That's
on a
like
very uplifting
dystopian.
note.
Oh my god, I hate
The
it.
most toxic live chats on the internet, and I've never been on the dark web, so I can't attest to that, but the most toxic chat webs on the dark web or on the internet live on those. Joe might know what I'm talking about. Those websites you go to watch like out of market NFL or NBA games.
Yeah.
Like the chat room, like if you want to watch I like New Orleans, I like the Pelicans. If I want to watch Pelicans game, I go online like a live stream for it. I have to go to like the names of these things like Crack
Oh,
Streams
okay.
and MethStreams.com. And the chats on those are the most heinous things you will ever read on the face of
Is
the
it like the
planet.
Batman where not Scarecrow, freaking not Leatherface because it's not Leatherface.
It is vile. It is vile. You will learn
Riddler.
slurs. You will learn.
You know that Riddler
slurs.
live stream? Yeah,
Oh.
it's like, "What's up, guys? Planning a terrorist attack." It's like
Yeah.
just the live chat. Horrible shit.
Yeah, it is horrific. It is horrid shit. But yeah, I will keep tabs on this one though. I am curious to see where Blockbuster is going to go with this. I think we should expect an announcement here pretty soon, next couple of weeks.
It's got to be better than Movie Passes revealed. Joe, you can go off on that, but we gotta end.
Yeah.
We do have to end. It's been a long, long show, but it's been a great show, no less. Next week, per Joe's recommendation, we're going to be watching Strange Days. Looking forward to that. I know Joe's all happy. He's jazzed like June to be watching Strange Days, so we will get to that coming up next week. Kind of a retro review in between me protesting the new releases and the blockbusters that are coming to theaters. So I appreciate the workability of my fine gentleman over here. Great review of Scream 6. Great remembrance of Lance Reddick. We really did it all on the show today. We'll be back next Wednesday. Same time, same place, 6:30 Central Time. For Dominic Guanzon, Joe Viso, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.